The dead ones didn't scream anymore. That was the first thing Carter Hayes noticed every time he woke up to the droning silence of the starship graveyard. No klaxons, no survivors crying out over the radio. Just the hum of old reactors that hadn't figured out they were extinct yet. He rolled out of the hammock that hung like a defeated flag between two twisted metal support beams and muttered something about hating mornings. Mornings were indistinguishable from nights out here. Just more radiation, different angle. His boots hit the grated floor with a metallic thunk, and Jerry, his companion and possibly the most insufferable AI ever shoved into a rusted maintenance bot, immediately beeped to life. "Good morning, Carter. Your oxygen recycler is functioning at 37%. I've prepared a funeral dirge." "Skip the dirge, brew the sludge," Carter said, rubbing his face. He'd grown a beard, or something approaching a beard. It might have been a fungus colony auditioning for citizenship. "Brewing sludge," Jerry said dutifully, clanking toward the makeshift kitchenette made from what Carter suspected had once been a part of a sanitation system. The smell confirmed it. Carter pulled on his patched jumpsuit, the one with the least number of questionable stains, and slid open the outer bay doors. Beyond lay the graveyard, a drifting mass of ships, escape pods, and space junk, all caught in the gravitational embrace of a dead gas giant. They floated like forgotten promises, cracked open and hollowed out. Some were human, others weren't. He scanned the debris with a battered pair of electro binoculars, the same as yesterday and the day before. And a flicker. He lowered the binoculars, frowned, then raised them again. Something new, smooth, obsidian. Not just new, wrong. It didn't belong here. It hovered motionless, its surface reflecting no light, a silhouette cut out of space itself. "Jerry, did you see that?" "I do not have eyes, Carter. Only pain and caffeine." "Put the scanner on it. Get me a reading." A pause, a long one. No registry, no broadcasts, no emissions. It is either a very stealthy warship or the universe's largest espresso machine. Carter stepped back inside, grabbed his pulse pistol, a weapon that had never fired consistently and often thought itself a flashlight, and slid it into his belt. "Well, let's go say hello to death again." Boarding the unknown vessel wasn't difficult. It seemed to want him to come inside. A ramp extended as he approached, airlock sliding open like a mouth welcoming a snack. He stepped into cool, sterile light, Jerry clunking beside him and humming something ominously Wagnerian. Inside, the ship was pristine. Too pristine. No dust, no wear. Technology far beyond anything Carter had ever reverse engineered. The walls shimmered faintly like they couldn't decide if they were metal or dream. And then she walked in, tall, poised, encased in armor that shimmered between matte and mirror, elegant as it was deadly. Her skin was a flawless porcelain white, as if sculpted rather than grown. Black hair fell like liquid shadow over shoulders sharp enough to write legislation with, and her ears, long, tapering elegantly past her head, like some aristocratic alien elf. She looked human, the way a jaguar looks like a house cat, if the house cat also had the ability to vaporize you with a blink. She regarded Carter with eyes like twin event horizons, deep, dark, pulling. "I am Zerixa of the Valkyrie Dominion," she said, her voice smooth and resonant, as if she were used to addressing billions at once. "You are the last life form in this graveyard. Identify yourself." Carter blinked, scratched his beard, fungus hybrid, and said, "I'm Carter. I fix things, sometimes blow them up. You, usually make such dramatic entrances?" She tilted her head. "You are not afraid." "Oh, I'm terrified, just hiding it behind sarcasm. It's a very advanced Terran defense mechanism." Silence stretched until it broke with the unexpected, a smile, a small, curious tilt of her lips, as if the idea of someone not quivering before her amused her. "You are strange," she said, "coming from a woman who looks like she fell out of a fashion magazine and into a weapons factory. I'll take that as a compliment." She circled him slowly. Jerry beeped nervously and rotated his single eye to follow her. "Your bot is antiquated. So's my sense of dignity. We get by." She stopped in front of him. "Your ship is non-functional. Your location is inhospitable. Your species is insignificant. And yet," Carter said, spreading his arms, "here we are, sharing a conversation. Isn't the galaxy weird?" Another pause. "You're a mechanic. I prefer interstellar technician of salvage refuse." But sure. I require your skills, she said simply. Come with me. Do I get a choice? But you may pretend. He looked at her, then at Jerry, who was vibrating slightly in what Carter had learned to interpret as robotic anxiety. What's the pay? You may breathe, Carter sighed. Fine, but I'm keeping Jerry. He makes great sludge. I am honored, Jerry muttered. They walked together through the ship. Carter tried not to gape at the corridors, all flowing with veins of energy and lined with a material that pulsed like it was alive. He passed a viewport and saw the stars rearranging themselves outside, not because they moved, but because they were moving. This ship, he said, it's not just flying, it's rewriting physics as it goes. Correct. It is not constrained by your reality. Neat. I once repaired a gravity coil with a spoon. Does that count? She gave him a long look. If you had been born Valkyrie, you would have been problematic. I've been called worse, once by a vending machine. At the central chamber, she gestured for him to stop. Before them stood a throne, not just a seat, but a construct of dark alloy and living circuits, pulsing with the rhythm of a heart. She turned to him. This galaxy is dying. My enemies multiply. I have ruled with force, with power, with fear, but never with partnership. Carter raised an eyebrow. You're not about to propose, are you? Because I usually like to be taken to dinner first. I am offering you the unthinkable, she said, to stand beside me, not as servant, not as slave, as co-ruler. Carter blinked. Lady, I haven't showered in 6 days and my socks have declared independence. Are you sure you want to make that offer? I am. You intrigue me. Jerry wheeled forward and said, I advise against this. He once dated a space pirate for free repairs. Carter looked at her throne, then back at her face, unreadable but intent. Well, he said, guess I've had worse job offers. Carter stood on the observation deck of the Seraph Vex and watched the sun die. It wasn't a metaphor. It actually died, collapsed into itself like a sulking diva, taking half a planetary system with it in a spectacular tantrum of gamma radiation. The crew barely noticed. Zirixa had nodded at the display like one might acknowledge a passing cloud. Does that happen often? Carter asked. Only on Mondays, came Jerry's voice from behind him. The maintenance bot was polishing its chassis with a cloth Carter suspected had once been underwear. Astrophysical collapse is statistically more likely on emotionally unstable days. Carter turned away from the window and surveyed the alien ship's interior again. The Seraph Vex wasn't designed, it had been composed. Organic curves, glowing seams that pulsed like veins, and long, arched corridors that hummed with ambient energy. Doors opened not with mechanical hisses, but with gentle sighs. Even the air smelled engineered, clean, faintly citrus, with a disturbing undertone of intelligence. You know, he muttered to Jerry, if this ship were any more alive, I'd need to start feeding it. It already consumes stars, Carter. You are simply dessert. He found Zirixa in the central war chamber, surrounded by holographic displays of star systems, threat assessments, and one small blinking icon labeled Terran Do Not Lose. She was in mid-discussion with an officer whose face shimmered with shifting geometric patterns. When she saw Carter, she dismissed the room with a wave. You walk like a man who's confused by his own pants, she said. I walk like a man who's been on a ship for 3 days and hasn't seen a single coffee machine. Zirixa stepped down from her command pedestal, armor clicking softly. You require caffeine? I require many things. Caffeine just keeps me from starting interstellar incidents before breakfast. She gestured and a drone zipped forward, unfolding like a mechanical flower to present a steaming cup of something suspiciously opaque. Carter sniffed it. If I drink this, am I going to grow a third eye or just forget my ex-girlfriends? Yes, she said. He drank it anyway. It tasted like molten chocolate, having an existential crisis. Not bad, he admitted. Could use sugar. Maybe a splash of don't disintegrate my organs. She studied him. You are adjusting well. I've been kidnapped by worse. Once got abducted by a sentient marketing algorithm. Tried to sell me socks for 3 days. Her brow furrowed delicately. You are not afraid of me. I'm terrified. I'm just also too tired to care. Zirixa laughed. Actually laughed. It echoed in the chamber like a glitch in authority. Your defiance is inefficient but entertaining. She motioned for him to follow. They moved through the ship as it twisted through space. a blur of light and impossible geometry outside the translucent hull. Carter tried not to look too long. Staring into folded space made his brain itch. Eventually, they arrived at what she called the instructional gallery, which turned out to be a sort of museum meets simulator. She activated a series of floating displays showing images of various species, battles, and royal decrees that had reshaped entire sectors. Carter leaned into a hologram of her younger self, standing on a mountain of robotic corpses, one boot crushing a fallen warlord's crown. "Casual question," he said. "Ever tried diplomacy?" "I did, once. It ended in conquest anyway. Less paperwork." He turned to her. "So why keep me around? I'm not exactly a galactic diplomat. Closest I've come to politics was fixing a mayor's hoverbike in exchange for 6 pies." She regarded him for a long moment. "You are unpredictable, unshaped. The galaxy is filled with rulers and rebels. I have crushed both. But you are a variable." Carter considered that. "You like that I'm weird?" "I do not like. I evaluate. And I find value in your strangeness." "Thanks, I think." That evening, or what passed for evening, on a ship that ignored planetary time cycles, they dined in a chamber overlooking the edge of known space. Carter marveled at the culinary selections. Edible clouds, sizzling crystal meats, and one item labeled wormroot of Uglak, do not chew aggressively. He poked it. It jiggled. "I feel like this could start a war if I eat it wrong." Zirixa raised an elegant brow. "Then chew carefully." The meal passed in strangely comfortable silence. Carter told a story about being stuck in a maintenance duct with a very angry cat and a live power conduit. Zirixa listened, amused. When he asked her for a story, she told him of the time she defeated a fleet using only a gravitational inversion and a handful of ionized sand. "Did you throw the sand?" Carter asked. "I weaponized it with a localized singularity generator." "Sure, that's what I do with beach days too." The next day brought trouble, of course. An envoy from the Mirren Spires, a species shaped like floating geometry and bitterness, demanded an audience. They refused to enter unless Zirixa explained why the Terran infestation was being permitted to pollute the throne corridors. Carter had been lounging in said corridor, playing a harmonica he'd found in a storage bay, and teaching Jerry to sing the blues. Zirixa summoned him into the diplomatic chamber anyway. The Mirren floated like glowing puzzles, rotating subtly, emitting sonic tones that translated into speech. "Remove the primitive," they intoned. Carter smiled and gave them a thumbs up. "I'm here to stay, folks. Sorry if I don't fit your aesthetic of floating Rubik's cubes." One of the Mirren began to pulse red. Zirixa did not blink. "He stays. He is under my protection." The Mirren considered that. "You would risk war for a Terran?" "I have ended wars for less," she said. Afterward, Carter leaned against a bulkhead and sighed. "You know that's not going to win you any popularity contests." "I am not popular. I am obeyed." "Well, I'm not great at either," he said. "But thanks." She looked at him then, long and strange. "You are not what I expected." Carter shrugged. "Most people aren't. You get to know them. They either surprise you or disappoint you. Or, if you're lucky, they sing karaoke off-key until you forgive them." "Karaoke? Oh, we are so doing that." And so the next chamber was repurposed. Holographic lyrics projected against war maps. Jerry provided backup harmony, glitching through the high notes. Zirixa sang, poorly, gloriously, like a goddess trying to understand disco. Carter laughed until he couldn't breathe. So did she. And in that moment, the galaxy felt just a little smaller and infinitely more ridiculous. The throne room of the Seraph Vex, once silent as a vacuum and twice as cold, now echoed with music. Bad music. Carter was standing on the central dais, microphone in hand, if it could be called a microphone, since it looked suspiciously like a reconfigured plasma torch, and belting out an off-key rendition of Sweet Galactic Mine, while Jerry, freshly polished and utterly unimpressed, provided backup on a keyboard synthesized from parts of a disassembled torpedo guidance system. Zirixa sat, or rather lounged, on her throne, watching with the faintest smile twitching at the corners of her mouth. The rest of the bridge staff were trying very hard to pretend they weren't hearing what could only be described as a diplomatic incident disguised as entertainment. "See?" Carter said, gasping between verses. "Cultural enrichment. I'm making the galaxy a better place. one terrible song at a time. You are making something, Jerixa said. I am unsure it qualifies as peace. Jerry added, according to 10 civilizations, your singing qualifies as an act of war. 2 declared sanctions mid-verse. The song ended in a spectacular flourish and a feedback screech. Carter bowed. No one applauded. Jerry played a sad trombone noise from his internal speaker. But the levity didn't last long. The alerts started flashing in the air like fireflies caught in a thunderstorm. Sirix's demeanor shifted, regal steel snapping into place. The war room came alive. They've come, she said, rising. Who? Carter asked, setting down his mic torch. More angry Rubik's Cubes? Number the Corinth Accord, the oldest of the empires. They do not make threats. They make disappearances. A hologram flickered to life, an armada stretching across parsecs, ships that looked like dying stars with teeth. The Corinth hadn't sent diplomats. They'd sent extinction with engine trails. Why now? Carter asked. Did someone finally read my Yelp review? Zerixa narrowed her eyes. Because of you. He blinked. Me? They saw you at my side, an unpredictable variable, a Terran anomaly. They believe I am compromised. Well, that's rude. I'm barely mostly a bad influence. They think you have made me weak. Carter looked at her. She didn't sound angry, not even afraid, just tired, like a queen who had ruled for centuries and only just realized her crown was heavier than she'd thought. Are they wrong? He asked, softer this time. I do not know, she replied, but I will not give you up to them. The Seraph Vex shuddered as its engines powered up. Space bent around them. The crew began preparation for war. Carter followed her to the command core, heart pounding. I have an idea, he said. Zerixa turned. If it involves you singing again, I will surrender immediately. Number it involves you trusting me, which, let's face it, is possibly a worse idea. She gestured for him to speak. He laid it out quickly. A maneuver involving 3 black holes, a gravity-reflective beacon, and a fleet of decoy drones repurposed from cargo haulers and old diplomatic shuttles. It was equal parts genius and suicidal. Jerry called it boldly idiotic. You're not actually considering this, one of the bridge officers said to Jerixa. I am, she said, not looking away from Carter, because he is no longer just an anomaly. It worked, mostly. The drones led half the Corinth fleet into a trap that turned them into art. The black holes rearranged their admiral's seating charts permanently. The beacon fried their sensors just long enough for the Seraph Vex to slide past and deliver a warning shot directly into their flagship's shielding, enough to say we could, without saying we will. Carter came out of the control pod soaked in sweat and possibly minor burns. Jerry's casing had a dent the shape of an escape pod, and he kept repeating, I hate physics, I hate physics, I hate physics. But it worked. The Corinth didn't retreat. Not exactly. They recalibrated their strategy, which in imperial terms meant they went home to sulk and write angry memos. Afterward, in the stillness of post-battle calm, Carter stood with Jerixa on the outer hull beneath the stars. They didn't need helmets. This part of the ship generated its own breathable bubble, because of course it did. You realize, she said, that was not a strategy a Valkyrie would have conceived. Yeah, you people are all about dominance. I'm more about chaos with a side of luck. She studied him. You have changed me. He shrugged. You changed me too. I used to think royalty was all about power and distance. Turns out some queens sing disco and quote ancient war codes while sipping mutant espresso. They stood there silent for a while. You could go, she said at last. Now, I would not stop you. He looked at her, the woman who had once been only fear, only blade and throne, and gravity wells of power. Now standing beside him with open space behind her and something like hope in her voice. I could, he said, but I'm really starting to like the coffee. She didn't smile, but her hand brushed his, and that said more. Later, Jerry threw a party, or what passed for one on an alien warship, strobe lighting from malfunctioning weapon systems, music made from translated whale song and aggressive glitch pop, and a cake that screamed when you cut it. Carter danced badly. Zerixa danced worse. But no one cared. The galaxy kept spinning. Empires rose and whispered threats. But the throne now held 2 beings, one forged in war, one forged in rusted tools and wild improvisation. Together they were something new. Carter had once been a stranded nobody in a junkyard of ghosts. Now he was co-ruler of a fleet that bent space, feared by empires, beloved by a woman who once ruled alone. He still fixed things, just on a bigger scale. And sometimes, late at night, the ship echoed with terrible karaoke. Because even in a galaxy teetering between collapse and conquest, joy had a place, even if it was off-key.